So hey guys, if you remember right, well, we just did the unboxing on the Hammer Concepts adjustable torque boxes, factory fox body location. So part of this is my fault. A buddy of mine was the one that sent me this kit, and he screenshot it and he's like, hey man, this is a $300 kit. This is badass. I misspoke earlier when I said it was $600. He said, this is a $300 kit. It's badass. You should order it. So I looked it up. I just Googled it real quick. I was all stoked, and I'm like, man, I can't even make it for that, you know, because I was going to design something up in the in CAD, cut it, bend it, all that good stuff. And for 300 bucks, you can't beat that. Like I said, it'd take me all day to come up with something, and that's money and time wasted. So, it's all great. Opened these up yesterday, and they are really badass, okay? But I started looking at them, and I'm like, well, these look like they're notched for tubing, right? Same thing with the uppers. They look like they're notched for tubing, and I'm like, huh, that's weird. So I try to Google a video, no videos on it. Go on their website for instructions, zero instruction. They've got like 3 pictures of it, and it's all on bare frame rails. There's nothing for this exact kit showing on a factory fox body. So I'm going back and forth with the guy, and I'm like, the picture shows a piece of tubing, a cross support, 2 pieces of bent tubing that come down to tie in, and then it also has some T-shaped tubing and these other brackets that bolt in for your lower torque boxes. But you've got to completely cut out everything, okay? Which is all fine and dandy, but it says nothing about that on their website. It says welding, welding required. Okay, well, I happen to have a tube bender and a notcher, and I've got some chromoly on the shelf that I can use, but not everybody has that, right? You go and spend $300 expecting that you can cut out your factory torque boxes and weld these in place, or even what I was under the impression was they actually fit up in the factory torque boxes and you had to modify them, but no, this is a whole unit. And like I said, if you don't have access to a tube bender, a notcher, they don't give you any dimensions as far as, okay, how long are the pieces of tubing? What's the degree of angle that it needs bend? I can find all that out, but somebody else that doesn't have the ability does not. So this kit kind of gets probably a D on, you know, A to F scale. The other thing is I like to run misalignment spacers on my Heims. What this does is it allows the bolt to ride through. So this is actually a bigger, heavier duty Heim. It's a 5/8 bore Heim. And then it necks it down to a 1/2 inch bolt, right? And then the bolt rides on these 2 misalignment spacers instead of just the bore of the Heim. It adds life to the Heim. And not only that, it also gets you extra movement there, a little bit extra. So I get to looking at this kit, and it does not allow for that. Okay, you've got 1/2 inch holes. Obviously, when I take this apart, unbolt it, I can fit it in there a little easier. But, I mean, that's all of the movement you've got left to right. And I'm worried that we may have some binding. I'm not sure. Hopefully not once I get the anti-roll bar in there, get everything stiffened up. But being that it's mini-tubbed, these lowers, the lower control arms or links are going to have to go in further than stock location on the rear end. They're going to have to go in just a little bit more, and I'm worried that that's going to hang up. And I contacted them, and they're like, oh, well, you can order 1/2-inch bore Heims on our website, or we can send you a 5/8 piece of tubing spacer that you can stick inside this. But that is not my point. You would think these would come with spacers to be able to run misalignment, to space this out, to run misalignment spacers, because a lot of people use them. So I don't know. I'm at the point right now where that's going to be a weekend full of work. You know, I really don't want to cut out the floor pan. Like I said, the picture on their website shows it in between two bare frame rails. It doesn't show it with the floor pan where your back seat sits. That's where your upper torque boxes are. And I don't know if there's going to be room up in there to get that piece of tubing, the whole fixture, correct. Like I said, I'm a little disappointed, and I'm kind of at the point, I'm at a crossroad. Okay, do I go ahead and keep it and go full bore tearing all this shit out? Or do I, you know, try to get a refund, send them back, and get a Team Z or one of the other competitors stiffeners? You know, they just kind of, they plate it from the inside of the body and then plate the insides of the torque boxes to give a little more strength, because that's the problem with factory torque boxes. It's like less than 1/8 inch sheet metal. It's like 14 gauge. So I do like the adjustability out of this. And it's a good quality kit. I mean, it's beautiful. I was really stoked about it. But now I'm wondering, I think I may end up having to make some spacers, basically copy these plates and make spacers to space this out, space these plates out enough to get my misalignment spacers in there. But then I'm going to have to order longer bolts, and, you know, I don't know. I think if you're, you know, there's not a whole lot of transparency there. You know, when I looked at it at the website again after I got them and was confused, I'm like, oh, they didn't ship the tubing. I'm missing a box. Well, no, they don't include the tubing. They don't include dimensions. You can buy a jig to put this thing together in the jig, but you have to buy the $3,000 jig table to use that jig. So Hammer Concepts, I think you could do a little bit better on this. I don't know. We'll see. If I proceed, we're going to have some good videos of how to do this. And hopefully I don't have to cut out that floor pan, because I just really don't want to have to do that. I was trying to keep this thing somewhat, you know, looking factory, because as soon as somebody looks under that thing and sees that badass suspension, they're going to be like, oh, this doesn't fit the class, the spirit of the class. And, you know, we're only going to be making like probably 800 horsepower to the tire, which is a lot, but that's not going to be competitive against guys in small tire that are making over 2,000 horsepower. So I was hoping to fit the small dollar class. That's what we have locally. And the small dollar class, there's some quick freaking cars in it, you know, and I thought we'd probably be competitive in that. But I have a feeling once people see the car, they're going to start crying and bitching and moaning, and that is not a small dollar car. It's going to have to move up to big tire, which, whatever, I'll race them, but I don't know if we're going to be super competitive. So stay tuned. I'll let you guys know what we're going to do, but you really need to do your research before buying the kit. I messed up, and And like I said, I would be willing to pay an extra $100 for the pre-bent tubing and everything, because people don't realize how long it takes to notch and bend tubing. And especially because all of this is made to fit in a certain way. So I don't know, maybe I'm lazy. Okay guys, this is what I'm talking about, or ladies and gents. I need to raise the lift a little bit because I'm crunched up under here. But these are your factory upper torque boxes. Okay, one on each side. Let's see where I have my cameras. You're gonna look, and I'll show you right here. These are your lower torque boxes, right here. This is where your factory control arms mount. And with their kit, you have to cut all this out and cut and bend tubing, and then use their plates to put the lowers in. And then the uppers, you know, they're showing a picture of factory frame rails, or not factory frame rails, just two bare frame rails, no sheet metal between it. Two brand new frame rails with no sheet metal in there. So what I'm worried about is it looks like that upper piece of tubing, and I'll have to screenshot the picture that they provide on their website and show it to you. But that's the only picture they have for this kit. So what I'm worried about is that I'm going to have to cut out all this floor pan, all this, to mount that thing, which I really don't want to do. I wanted to keep the interior looking pretty factory. I mean, back here where the spare tire is, that's all going to be cut out. You know, I'm going to have to remove the spare tire location, or the sheet metal, and that's fine, because that's in the back of the car, the trunk of the car. And then I'll, you know, bead roll some sheet metal and put it in there. But this is what I do not want to get into, and I'm afraid this portion right here is going to be right in the way of that upper piece of tubing. So I'm hard-headed, and like I said, I was going back and forth because, you know, if it were a customer's car, I would totally do it. But when it comes to my stuff, I'm kind of lazy with it, or not lazy, it's just I'm not making money on it. So the more time I spend on it, the more money the business is losing. So and not making. I went ahead and started drilling out the spot welds. I'll show you what I used. These are called roto broaches. Okay, so what it is it's got this spring-loaded pin for your center to center your cutter, and then it's actually a hollow cutter with carbide teeth. And you can buy these on Amazon and stuff, and they'll call them spot weld drill bits. But honestly, they're made for more than that. I use them for drilling stainless steel when I need to. Let me walk off camera real quick and get my case, but they make them in all different sizes. So I use these for cutting stainless steel plate, because trying to drill through stainless steel, if you've ever tried, it's really hard. So these are roto broaches, but you can order the same identical thing on Amazon if you want to go the cheap way. But they're not going to last. They burn up really quick. So I suggest buying the good Hogan ones. But what I did was I went ahead. I'm going to show you guys this. I'm going to start showing you. As you can see, you guys, I am drilling out all the spot welds to pull the torque box out. I was going to just cut it all out with the plasma and clean it up, but I got to thinking about it, and a lot of you guys may not have a plasma cutter, so it may not be much help for you. So I'm going to try to do it the hard way and drill out these spot welds, and then there's a few stitch welds somewhere. I want to say over here or something. I remember seeing them. We'll have to cut those with the cutoff wheel. But I want to try to do this thing with the minimal amount of equipment as possible, so that it can relate. You guys can relate and see what it's going to take. So I'm going to go ahead and get to removing these torque boxes. I've got the spot welds most of the way drilled out. I didn't want to drill through the floor, so I may have to go a little more because it looks like they're not free yet. So I'll go ahead and drill these a little deeper, and then we'll just use chisel or whatever you've got. An air hammer works really well, so that's probably what I'll end up using, because again, I'm kind of time limited to work on my own stuff. So I'm gonna get to it, and I'll let you guys see once I'm getting ready to have that thing off of there. Okay, so I went ahead and got the air hammer ready. I think I've got these pinch welds drilled out enough. I've only got one that I can't get the drill in there because of the spare tire location. So what I'll probably end up doing is getting my right hand drill. I've got a 90-degree right hand drill, and I'll try to drill that one out. But we're gonna go ahead and get to getting after it with the air hammer. I'm gonna start on the corner and see how this goes. I've got some earbuds in. You're definitely gonna want some earplugs or some kind of ear pro. Okay, she's so we're gonna have to work that bad boy out of there, because now I got her stuck. All right. All right, let's get this unstuck. So, after getting my air hammer unstuck, I realized that I've got a spot weld in there that I apparently did not drill out. They're really hard to see sometimes. I need a center punch, which I lost my center punch. Yeah, if you don't get a center punch in there on those spot welds, you're gonna have a really hard time keeping that roto broach straight. So I've got my handy dandy little spring loaded one. Go ahead and get in here and try to get as close to the center of it as possible. Get you a good little punch in there. And like I said, this thing's got a spring loaded center on it. So you're gonna go ahead and get that lined up with your center punch. You just want to let this thing do the cutting. You don't have to apply a ton of pressure. Sorry. You don't have to apply a ton of pressure. You're just trying to... portion is a little thicker than it looks. Okay, I think we're free enough there. This stuff is time consuming when you're trying to drill spot welds. My preferred method is a plasma cutter and a cutoff wheel. It looks like still got a little piece hung up because there is a backer plate on here that I actually ripped with the air hammer. So what I'll have to do is probably go ahead and straighten that up from the inside and weld it back up. Otherwise I'm gonna have a hole. Okay, so you can see where your spot welds are. And then there's actually a long shitty weld right here. So, and then you've got spot welds on this tab. So what I need to do is come in here with a cutoff wheel and cut this back, all right? Get it out of the way, and then we can cut this off afterwards. But we're gonna have to come in here and cut this off. Looks like this is the shitty way of doing it, is trying to do spot welds, because these guys get crazy with the spot welds and sometimes they're hard to see. So let's just keep plugging away.